Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. I just want to say that I've been getting a few complaints about the audio of this video or my recent videos, saying that it is a bit quiet. Now this isn't an issue for everyone, so but hopefully I increased the volume for today's video, and I don't know if it made it worse or made it better. So if you could leave a comment about the audio saying that like it was good, it's good, it is better, and whatnot, just let me know. If you don't know what's going on in terms of the audio, you don't really care, well, that's fine, because again, this is just for those that were having a issue. So I do want to say that yes, as you could tell by the title of this video, we will be talking about a potential winter storm. Now it's a very interesting video that I'm making today. I haven't made such a video about such a interesting, I guess, topic or way of putting it in a while, and I'll explain to you in just a second why. But before we do that, if you guys are new to this channel and you enjoy weather enthusiasts, or you're a weather enthusiast and you enjoy kind of geeking out about the weather, or you just want to be part of this weather community, you like what I kind of do, consider subscribing. Again, don't do it just because I told you so. Check it out, make sure you actually enjoy it, and if you do, that would be awesome if you could subscribe and like the video. It helps out a lot. And if you have any comments, concerns, questions, feel free to leave them down below. It's again, I'll answer probably most of them. Okay, so why am I okay, so I'm titling the video "A Winter Storm is Coming," but this is what's so weird about it, the catch, if you will. The weird part about this video is that I don't really know. I'm not really choosing a specific storm. There isn't a specific storm that I'm kind of talking about. And the reason is the models, as of recently, in the past really 5 days, there's been a lot of disagreement, more than usual. At least for since really last year, and there have the models are good, right? But there are periods where they disagree, where one shows a volatile pattern and one doesn't, and if one shows a pattern change and one doesn't, there's many different ways you can show a pattern change. So there's many different levels of this, and unfortunately, there isn't one consensus on a particular winter storm. However, in the next 15 days. It is a growing possibility, and pretty much I would say a very, very good possibility, that there will be a snowstorm, a winter storm across the United States and potentially against southern Canada. There could be multiple. Now, again, there isn't enough confidence for me to show this snowstorm is going to be doing this and this, riding along the northeast coast, for example. Some models show the snow across the upper plains. Some show it across the northeast. Some show it even as far south as Tennessee, Kentucky. Some show it across Colorado, Kansas. So there's many different areas, but they all, pretty much all of them, show a winter storm, and we'll just have to wait and see where the one actually does end up occurring. And again, this is all based on because they disagree with each other, and there's really a lot of disagreement, more than usual and more than I would like, but that's not something I get to decide. Let me show you this level of disagreement that we have going on. First of all, let me show you the GFS and let me play it forward. Okay, there is one thing that the models are kind of agreeing on, and that's really the next couple of days with the pattern change that could be developing. There could be a decent amount of chilly air across the eastern United States, but anything kind of beyond that, or even within that, it's a bit fuzzy. So look, there's that little cool blast of air. Most models show that, right? So we're at least agreeing up to hour 40. Now this is where things get interesting. Remember yesterday I made a video about the potential winter storm here, and good thing that I called it a potential winter storm, because now a lot of the models have kind of backed off from this. They're not showing really much snow across the panhandles of Texas or Oklahoma. They're showing snow, and we'll have to wait and see how much develops, but they're showing it across Nebraska, Wyoming, or Colorado, just not as much as really as yesterday's models. And look, the GFS doesn't really show much of anything, right? And let me just show you what it does. Bring some lake effect, that's still a consistent thing, and a lot of models show that, but again, that's not really a winter storm. And here's where a lot of models already start disagreeing. Some show a nor'easter out of this, like genuine like snow across the northeast, across large cities. Some just take it off coast, they develop a storm, it's just not snowy, and it doesn't affect the northeast. Some don't develop one at all, so that's already a lot of disagreement at hour 126, which usually we start seeing a lot of disagreement past hour 240, not so early. And notice that again, this one, the GFS, doesn't really develop it at all. It's one of those models. Now here's another system that the GFS just recently, I mean, I think it's just the 18Z model. Again, they disagree with each other pretty much within themselves. Look, it develops this system, and it's actually a pretty large storm. 12 hours ago or a few hours ago, it did not show this scenario. Completely different. And obviously you could see that's what it shows. That's already some decent snow, decent rain, a winter storm you could call it, but more across Canada. We put this forward. Again, ignore the timeline because this is such low confidence that it's useless putting on time on this. It's just to show the generality of what may happen. Again, there's nothing really major in the near, next few days, it seems. And then notice, look at this, maybe some high elevation snow and potential nor'easter right there, the GFS. So it shows 2 in its time frame. And let me show you the 12Z. So same model, and it came out today, just a bit earlier on today, at around noon. The one I showed you came around at 6 p.m. Central Time. So let's see. It showed that cool layer. It showed that lake effect. That's consistent. Let's see if it developed that nor'easter. If you recall, the most recent one, it did not. Yep, it's not even close to the northeast. It does show a little bit of that rain. And again, if you recall, the newest model run of the GFS developed this into a large system that, again, dropped that snow, if you recall. This one drops some snow across Maine. Anything else, it gets swept away. Now look what it did here. It showed a lot more activity across the west, and it was a ton of activity. There's a large snowstorm, right? There's another large beast that kind of spreads out, and you can see that's November 15th. So each model run within itself is disagreeing with itself, and then each model run kind of that are, again, comparing, like the GFS, Canadian, European, are also in a disagreement. So rather a disagreeing forecast, but again, what is consistent that in the next 10 to 15 days, which may seem like a lot, and it is in terms of weather modeling, there most likely will be some sort of a winter storm. Now again, that could be a nor'easter, that could be a storm across the west, the plains. We'll just have to wait and see. So again, there's that storm that, if you recall, the newest GFS model developed a system out of. Look at this one, completely different. I mean, even the structure of the pattern is different. And look, it does show that winter storm across the west, but it doesn't show that now with the most recent model run. So it's just jumping back and forth, these models, back and forth, bickering with each other, again, within themselves, and a very interesting scenario because of how little confidence there is. And now, again, that's not really pleasant, but at least it's kind of what makes it interesting, because anything could happen, quite literally, right? And that's usually happens, that the capable weather of producing, that the weather is capable of producing, right? So your normal events, anything could happen. So, you won't be seeing 1,000 inches, not in that sense anything will happen, but any kind of scenario that any of these models shows is as equally as likely as some other. Look at the Canadian. It shows a bit more snow across the plains into Nebraska, potentially some snow flurries across the Texas area. It does show that cool down, right? So again, this is a completely different model, but again, it shows that nor'easter way closer than the GFS does, but it doesn't really bring snow. And again, it's a different scenario, and it only goes out to 240 hours. Let's take a look at this model run, but just a few hours prior to the GFS, or sorry, the one I just showed you. Same model, and look, it showed a bit more across the plains right there, so that's already a change. It did develop that nor'easter with the most recent one, and look at this one. The one yesterday at midnight completely took that system away, so that there's already a difference. Now again, this only goes out to 240 hours, so that is approximately around kind of the day 9, day 10 time frame. And the Canadian doesn't show a winter storm, but I'll show you an ensemble of 50 models, and almost every single one shows a snowstorm. This is one of the ones that really doesn't. So again, snowstorm seems likely, as odd as that sounds. I'm extremely confident. We're kind of on a cusp of seeing possibly a flurry of snowstorms. Again, but just where they will occur, and I think just because of how active and dynamic it may be, kind of looking, that models don't really know exactly what to. They're kind of getting overwhelmed, and it's definitely something that is odd to work with, and especially make a video about, as I don't really like just being like, models. I mean, what can I title the video? Models are disagreeing with each other. Snowstorm, maybe potential. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'd rather be a bit more kind of specific and a bit more detailed. So let's take a look at the European. A very good model, possibly the one that's usually the most consistent, accurate, whether people love it, and for a good reason. So there's our cool off, right? This is the most recent run, by the way. It does show a bit of that snow across the plains, and it does show a nor'easter. Just not a lot of snow. There is some ice, some, you can't really call that a snowstorm, but it's definitely there, right? And then notice what it shows after that. It runs out of time because it only goes out to 240 hours. So again, there's a lot of inconsistency because it's already way different from what the GFS shows. The GFS did not do this. The Canadian did not do that. So the second model I showed you, and now this third one doesn't, or shows something else. Again, showing that in nor'easter, just not enough snow really to call it a snowstorm, right? Just in nor'easter, but rain. And now let's take a look at the same model, but it's midnight run, so 12 hours prior to the one I just showed you. Again, there's our cool off. There's a little bit of that snow. It's actually pretty decent. You can see tracking. Let's see if it forms at nor'easter. And again, it does. Just it's closer to the ocean and it doesn't go as far inland. And again, not as much snow, but that's quite a big difference. And you can see it kind of warms things up in the long term, and probably again kind of on the cusp of seeing a snowstorm sometime if this model were to go out a couple more days. So that's that. You can see they're disagreeing with each other, disagreeing within themselves. And let me show you the kind of the model of the 51 ensembles, because usually models are part of a family, like the European. It's part of a family that consists of 51 models. 51, right? So imagine 51 siblings. Quite a bit. Now, let's see whether or not these siblings, whether or not they agree with each other and what they show. And for this, I could show you the next 15 days snowfall. So again, that's pretty far out for 15 days, but you know, anything you see on here will occur in 15 days or less. So let's see. You know, it could be occurring on day 4, day 5. We'll have to kind of see and wait for that. But let me show you what they show in terms of the snowfall. And I just want to show you how much they disagree. So look at this one. It doesn't show much across the plains. It doesn't show in nor'easter, but it shows very, very heavy mountain snow. Some snow across the plains. Definitely a event that could spawn a snowstorm. This one is one of the models that doesn't really show anything, and there's very few of these. Look, this one definitely shows a nor'easter, I mean, of some kind. It's actually a decent storm. That could be several inches of snow across the northeast right there. Yes, not coastal areas, but cities like Erie, potentially, Albany, or northern Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, you know, decent amounts of snow. This one shows a snowstorm, but across Colorado, Wyoming, the Dakotas. Again, nothing across the Northeast. So again, you're seeing it, right? There's a snowstorm. It's just not agreeing with each other. Look at this one. It shows very heavy snow here, but also in nor'easter and across, again, closer to the coast. So it doesn't even agree with the one that did show that nor'easter earlier on. Where was it? This, where is it? This one, it's just, again, it's closer to the coast this time. So again, shows snow. Snowstorm, not really consistent. This one is one of the model that shows a snowy active pattern, but kind of for broad area, no big, I guess, events, if you will. But again, these aren't as common. Look at this one. Shows a snowstorm across southern Canada. Again, my Canadian viewers, I have quite a few of them. Or you may think that's not true, but it is. Always present in the comment section. Look, we have some snow across Illinois, Indiana, and a giant one across the Upper Plains. So again, this one's even different. This one shows a lot across the west. Those are some very heavy amounts, but nothing in kind of east of the Rockies. This one shows a lot across Colorado, Wyoming, the Texas Panhandle. That's definitely a snowstorm right there. And yeah, that's definitely a snowstorm, but again, doesn't agree with the other models. This one shows a lot across Colorado, and that's about it. So this is definitely a weird scenario. It doesn't have much support. This one more centered across the northwest. You could see pretty snowy and active, and a few clippers across southern Canada. Doesn't make much across the kind of United States area. Now this is a set of a few here. I remember around these models. There's going to be around, I think, the 10, 11, and 12. These ensembles don't really show much, but again, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's really what's the favorite thing. You can see, look at that. That shows Kentucky, Tennessee, some snow. While it's not massive, it's definitely a very odd scenario to see that heavy amounts of snow very far to the south. You can imagine that takes a very large system in general. So, again, something still very unusual with this model. And look at this one. Shows a large snowstorm across Canada, decent snow across the plains, decent lake effect. Again, a snowy scenario, just completely different. This one, again, not as much, not as excited. Look at this one. Shows a nor'easter, potentially a lot of mountain snow. This one shows a lot across southern Canada. I mean, a lot, and decent amounts, I guess, kind of further towards the south, but no real heavy storm. This one also shows some sort of a nor'easter developing. So does this one. Also develops a system across the plains of Texas and New Mexico. This one potentially right there, again, targeting another snowstorm. This one across the Carolinas, Virginia, and maybe across the west. So I'm just going to run through these more frequently now. Look at that. Boom. Right there. Snowstorm. But they just don't agree on anything, right? Some, you see that there's quite a bit that show a nor'easter, but then there's some that show nothing but show it across the plains. So we're on the cusp, I think, of seeing a snowstorm. I just don't really know where, and it's too early to make an opinion about that yet. And you can see that there's a lot that shows some sort of an active pattern supportive of a snowstorm. But also I don't want to mention that almost all of them show very heavy snow for the west, which is really a good thing. And a lot of that Pacific moisture, I think, will contribute to producing a snowstorm across the eastern United States. Look at this one, shows a nor'easter, right? Look at this one, right there across Nebraska, Colorado, and whatnot. This one maybe just more active towards the west. This one not as active as well. This one across the northeast, the Great Lakes, right there, Wyoming, Colorado, quite a bit of snow. Same with that one. So again, I think it's pretty likely that, as you saw with the GFS, some of its model runs, especially around the morning one, or sorry, the one at noon, it showed some decent storms, very large, but it just doesn't have enough support. You can see right there, boom, that's a giant system right there. There's another one. So we'll just have to wait and see, folks. I think we're on a cusp of a very snowy pattern as we head into November. Just the models haven't decided yet on what they kind of want to do with that and how they want to resolve it. Right? Again, the data is pretty much just a bit too tricky for them. I can show you what they show in terms of the overall kind of temperature pattern. And let me show you that it won't be overly warm, right? So if you just have moisture, we'll definitely be capable of seeing a snowstorm. Again, there's our first cool off kind of in the near term. You can see that's the 6th of November, 7th. Again, the cold air lingers for quite a while for such a cool off. Usually they're a bit kind of come and go a bit sooner. We do see some increase of warm air, but again, it's not substantial. You can still have a slightly warmer temperature kind of pattern and see a snowstorm. And again, if that snowstorm tracks right through Illinois, Michigan, right, let's just say that's the low. It brings a lot of snow to Minnesota. It will be cooler here, but much warmer out ahead of it. That's how systems work. So the models, again, this just shows us that they're a bit in disagreement. All right, guys. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, I think it's an exciting pattern. It just isn't kind of showing itself yet as fully as I would like, or really anyone would like that likes consistency. GEFS, so this is a GFS ensemble group. Let's take a look at its most recent model run that is fully processed and show you its temperature outlook. And let's take a look at 2-meter temperature anomaly and show you what it shows. You saw the European shows a bit, really just a more of an average pattern, not warm or cold in the long range. This one definitely shows that cool air for early first week of November. Does introduce some warm temperatures, you can see right there, but again, it's not as impressive. Initially, it may be a bit more, right? You can see right there, a few days especially warm, but then it kind of gets spread out and washed out, and some models introduce some cold air, some don't, depending again on that snowstorm threat, which you can see the models don't disagree on stuff that's less than 100 hours out, let alone something that's temperature is so far out. So we'll have to wait and see, but for now, that's basically it, guys. That's kind of what I just wanted to talk about today, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.